Hi, my dear lovely students. Today in this class, we are going to see the first chapter of the science, that is nutrition in plants. Before to understand nutrition in plants, what is mean by nutrition? We'll see. Now, many a times we are listening that from doctors, our relatives, from our family members, that we need to take a good nutrition, we need to take a good food. Why we need to take a good food? What is the use of that? What is the role of that nutrients in our life? What is the use of these nutrients in our day-to-day life? We'll see one by one. Nutrients, the components of food like carbohydrate, fats, proteins, vitamins and minerals are called nutrients. Whatever food we are taking, those food we are taking because of in that these different types of foods are present, which are carbohydrate, proteins, fats, vitamins, minerals. And whenever we are taking any food, we are observing that in that food all these things are there or not. And the food which containing all these things are known as nutrients. Nutrients help living organism. Why we are taking nutrients? Because these nutrients help for living organism. Now what they help, we'll see. To build their bodies, to grow, to repair the damaged parts of their bodies, to provide energy to carry out life processes. We are taking these nutrients because they are playing very important role in our life. First, that is to build their bodies. To build our body, to grow our body, for proper development, food is requirement, and the nutrients in which all those things, carbohydrate, fats, proteins, vitamin, minerals, those nutrients required in our food. Second, that is to grow, means we are growing each and every day from childhood to the adulthood or to the aged or to the death we are growing, and for that growth we require energy, and that energy we are getting from these nutrients only. To repair the damaged parts of their bodies, for example, in our body some damages happen or something scratches happen, simple example, or after accident we need to repair those bodies, and for that, have you listened that most of the time doctors telling us that take proteins in large amount so that those proteins help us to recover our body, to repair the damaged part of our body, and that's why these nutrients are very important for our body. To provide energy to carry out life processes, whatever life processes takes place in our body, for example digestion, circulation, respiration, excretion, for all these life processes we require energy, and that energy we get from these nutrients only. That's why these nutrients are very important for living organisms. Next we'll see what is mean by nutrition. The mode of taking food by an organism and its utilization in the body is called nutrition. Means in which mode we are taking food. That mode of food taking by living organisms is known as nutrition. Now there are different modes of nutrition, which are those we'll see. Modes of nutrition. There are two main modes of nutrition in living organisms. They are autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition. Mainly nutrition is divided into two types. First one is a autotrophic nutrition and second is a heterotrophic nutrition. We'll see what is mean by autotrophic nutrition. Autotrophic nutrition is nutrition in which organism can prepare their own food. This is a type of nutrition in which organisms prepare their own food. For example, plants, they are preparing their own food. And heterotrophic nutrition is a nutrition in which organisms get their food directly or indirectly from plants. Heterotrophic nutrition means in this what we are doing, we are not preparing our food by our own, but we are depending on others for our food. Directly or indirectly, we depends on the plants for our food, and those type of nutrition is known as heterotrophic nutrition. Organisms which get their food directly or indirectly from the plants are called heterotrophs. Now we'll see some example, that is here plants prepare their own food, that's why we are saying plants are the heterotrophic nutrition. Just we learn that plants preparing their own food, that's why we are saying their mode of nutrition is heterotrophic. But how they prepare their food, and for preparation of food what they require, we'll see. Chlorophyll uses the energy from sunlight to prepare food by using water and carbon dioxide. The food prepared is carbohydrate, which is then converted into starch. During photosynthesis, oxygen is released. Now photosynthesis is one process which is done by plant for preparation of food. It is the formation of food by leaves, and that process is known as photosynthesis. Now which things are required for process of photosynthesis, we'll see. First important thing required for photosynthesis, that is a carbon dioxide. Second, water. Third is the sunlight, and fourth, which is very very important, that is a chlorophyll. Without this photosynthesis is not happening. Now where this chlorophyll is present? This chlorophyll is present in all green leaves or all greenish part of the plant. This chlorophyll is present, and this is used in the photosynthesis process. In photosynthesis process we require four main things, that is carbon dioxide, water, sunlight and chlorophyll. In the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll, carbon dioxide reacts with water and it forms a carbohydrate and it releases oxygen. In this photosynthesis process, when carbon dioxide reacts with water in presence of sunlight and chlorophyll, it forms a carbohydrate which is the food of plant. And during the formation of this carbohydrate, it releases oxygen, and which we get from the plant. That's why we are saying plants are taking carbon dioxide and releases oxygen. This is happening in the process of photosynthesis only. Now here see, photosynthesis process is shown. Sunlight, the plant in which chlorophyll is there, that takes sunlight as well as carbon dioxide from the air, and here in this plant chemical reaction takes place and it forms a food in the form of carbohydrate, and it releases oxygen in the environment. This is the whole process of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is nothing but the process of formation of food in plants. This is the equation of photosynthesis. If in your exam they will ask write down the equation of photosynthesis, then you should write down like this: carbon dioxide plus water, and along the arrow you should write down sunlight, chlorophyll, and in this reaction we will get carbohydrate and oxygen. This is the equation of photosynthesis. Next, that is synthesis of proteins. Now plant synthesize proteins, but how they synthesize proteins? For the synthesis of protein, plant require nitrogen, but plants not able to absorb nitrogen from the air. We know that in air there is large amount of nitrogen is present, but plants not able to absorb nitrogen from the air. That's why some bacteria absorb nitrogen from the air and mixes it into the soil, and it helps us to synthesize protein through plant. Now we'll see how they synthesize protein. Synthesis of proteins. The soil has some bacteria which convert nitrogen from the air into usable nitrogen in the soil. Farmers also add fertilizers containing nitrogen into the soil. Plants absorb this nitrogen from the soil along with water and other constituents to prepare proteins and fats. These bacteria absorb atmospheric nitrogen and mixes into soil, as well as if nitrogen content is less, farmers also added fertilizers in which nitrogen is present, which mixes into the soil and which helps in the synthesis of proteins and fats in plants. In this way, plants synthesize proteins. Mainly the modes of nutrition are divided into two types that we learn, that is autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition. Now next we'll see other modes of nutrition in plants. Which are the other modes of nutrition in plants? Next, that is the parasitic plants. Parasitic plants are plants which do not have chlorophyll and cannot prepare their own food. They get their food from other plants called host. Example, cuscuta or amarbe. Now see, there are plants in which chlorophyll is there. Those plants are only able to prepare their own food, or they are only able to do the photosynthesis process. But the plant in which chlorophyll is not there, they are unable to prepare their own food, and those plants are depends on the other plant for their food. For example, on other means they are depend on other plants for their food, and those plants are known as host. For example, the cuscuta or amarvel is growing on the other plants and they are taking food from them only, and these types of plants which are depends on other for their food are known as parasitic plants. Parasitic plants are those plants which are depends on others for their food because they are unable to prepare their own food because of the absence of chlorophyll, and that's why their color also not green. Green color of the plant is because of the presence of chlorophyll only. Next mode of nutrition, that is the insectivorous plant. Insectivorous plants are plants which feed on insects. Pitcher plant. The leaf of the pitcher plant is modified into a pitcher, and the end of the pitcher has a lid which can open and close. When an insect enters the pitcher, the lid closes. The insect is then digested by digestive juices inside the pitcher. Now see, insectivorous plant, there are some plants which feed on the insect. Here see, this is a pitcher plant and it is a structure like a lid. When insect enters into that, this lid part automatically closes, and whatever juices secreted by this plant, they are useful in the digestion of this insect. In this way, these plants are taking food as this insect. They depend on the insect for their food, and those plants are known as insectivorous plant. The plants which feed on insect, those are known as insectivorous plant, and the example is pitcher plant. Next mode of nutrition, that is the saprotrophs. These are the plants which do not have chlorophyll and cannot prepare their own food. They get their food from dead and decaying organic matter. For example, mushroom, bread, mold, etc. They produce digestive juice on the dead and decaying organic matter and convert it into a solution and then absorb the nutrients from the solution. Saprotrophs these are the types of plant which do not have, that's why they don't have green color. Chlorophyll is not there, that's why they are unable to prepare their own food, that's why they depends on others. Now depends on others means whom? They depends on dead and decaying matter. The plants which grow on dead and decaying matter, those are known as saprotrophs. For example, mushroom, or there are here mushroom, bread mold, these are the example of plants which are known as the saprotrophs. Here some pictures are given which showing the saprotrophs. Next we'll see what is meant by symbiotic relationships. In this, some plants live together and share shelter and nutrients. See how we are living together. If someone is perfect in something, they are giving that thing, and in which we are perfect, we are giving that thing. Means what we are doing, we are exchanging the thing. Same like that, here also some plants are living together and they are share their things with each other. Some plants live together and share shelter and nutrients. Example, that is lichens. In lichens, an alga and a fungus live together. In lichens, In lichens, alga and fungus live together, and the fungus that provides shelter, water, minerals to the alga, and the alga provides food to the fungus which it prepares by photosynthesis. Because alga is having chlorophyll, that's why it is able to form its own food, and that's why it provides food to the fungus. Fungus unable to prepare their food because of absence of chlorophyll, and that's why fungus provides shelter, water and mineral to the alga, and alga provides food to the fungus. In this way, they exchange their shelter as well as nutrients, and that's why the relation which is in between them is known as a symbiotic relationship. How nutrients are replenished in the soil? Plants absorb nutrients from the soil, so the nutrients in the soil decreases, so farmers add manures and fertilizers to the soil to increase the nutrients in the soil. Now see, we know that we are growing plants, different types of plants in soil. Whatever nutrients are present in that soil, plants are absorb those nutrients for their growth. But doing again and again growing in that soil, the nutrients of soil decreases. That's why farmers, what they are doing, they are adding external nutrients in the form of manures or fertilizers to increase the nutrients in soil. The bacterium called rhizobium, which lives in the roots of leguminous plants like gram, peas, beans, etc., converts nitrogen from the air into the soluble form in the soil and makes the soil rich in nitrogen. In return, the plant provides food and shelter to the bacteria, so they have a symbiotic relationship. Now in this, see, just before some time we learned that all plants are unable to absorb the atmospheric nitrogen. That's why some bacteria absorb atmospheric nitrogen and it mixes into soil. And the bacteria which absorb atmospheric nitrogen and it mixes into the soil, those are known as rhizobium. And those rhizobium, what they are doing? They are absorbing atmospheric nitrogen and mixes into, and which helps to increase the nutrients in soil, and that increased nutrients is used by different plants to grow, and that nutrients we are taking through plants in the form of vegetables, fruits, like that. In return, the plants provides food and shelter to the bacteria, and so they have the symbiotic relationship. Means what? Bacteria provides them nitrogen and plant provide that bacteria to food and shelter. Means they're exchanging something which they have, and that's why in between them symbiotic relationship is there. To show that sunlight is necessary for photosynthesis, one activity is given in your textbook. What is that? We'll see. To show that sunlight is necessary for photosynthesis, take two potted plants of the same kind. Keep one in sunlight and the other in the dark room for 2-3 days. Then take a leaf from both the plants and test for starch. Now we know that photosynthesis process in which plants preparing their own food, but for that we require sunlight also. And what we are doing here, we are taking two pots, and one we are keeping under sunlight and one we are keeping in dark for 2-3 days. After that, we are checking that in which leaf food is prepared by the process of photosynthesis. Food prepared in plant is in the form of starch. That's why we are checking starch is present in that or not. Put the leaves in test tube, pour some spirit in it and put the test tube in a beaker containing water. Boil the water till all the green color in the leaves comes out into the spirit. Then take the leaves and wash it in water. Put the leaves on a dish and pour some iodine solution over it. The leaf of the plant kept in sunlight turns blue-black, and the leaf of the plant kept in the dark does not turn blue-black. And this shows that sunlight is necessary for photosynthesis. When we are putting iodine on starch, it can be turned into blue-black color. And if we are putting iodine For doing starch test, we are using iodine, and if in anything iodine is present, it can be turned into blue black color. Here what happened, the plant which we kept under sunlight, that turns into blue black color, and the plant which we kept in dark, that is not turns into blue black. That's why this activity shows that for photosynthesis process sunlight is necessary, and without sunlight photosynthesis not takes place. Starch formation not takes place in the absence of sunlight. That's why sunlight is very important for the process of photosynthesis, for the formation of food by plants. Next, second activity, to observe the fungus bread mold in bread. Take piece of bread and moisten it with water. Leave it in a warm place for 2-3 days till fluffy patches appear on them. Observe the patches under a magnifying glass or microscope. Cotton-like threads are seen on the bread. Generally in day-to-day life also, on our roti, there is, if we are keeping that for 2-3 days, we observe some white color layer on that. That is nothing but the fungus only. Here also for doing activity, we are taking bread and spreading some amount of water on that and keeping for 2-3 days. After that, we observe this white colored layer on that, and the cotton like thread are the fungus bread mold. Bread mold is a saprotroph. Saprotrophs get their food from dead and decaying organic matter. Saprotrophs are what? They are depending on others for their food. From where they get food? They get their food from dead and decaying matter, and this fungus is nothing but the saprotroph, and which depends on this bread. It's in this class we learn about plants, its photosynthesis process, what is meant by nutrients, different modes of nutrition, symbiotic relationship, and synthesis of protein.